Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Gavin. When I met my fiancée, her world felt like something I had always been missing. She came from a tight-knit family, and I love that. I wanted to be a part of it because they mattered to her, and she mattered to me. When I asked Jasmine to marry me, I wasn't just choosing her. I was choosing her family. See, I don't have parents of my own anymore. I lost mine when I was younger, and for years I lived without that sense of a real family. So when I got serious with Jasmine and she brought me around her people, it meant something to me. Her mom and dad weren't just her parents, they became my family. I called them for birthdays and showed up when needed. Jasmine is the eldest in her family, and a lot rests on her shoulders. Her parents are retired, and they don't have much saved up. When something goes wrong, they lean on her. And then there's her little brother. He's in college, still figuring things out, and she's the one making sure he's okay, even though he does his best to stay afloat over there. It's a lot for one person. I remember one evening, we were supposed to go out for dinner, but she canceled last minute. Said her mom called crying. They'd run out of money for groceries that week, and Jasmine had just sent what was left of her paycheck to cover it. She was quiet after that. That kind of weight doesn't always come with words. Sometimes you just see it in someone's eyes. So I made a decision to start stepping in, behind the scenes. Jasmine appreciated me hugely for coming through for her. That meant everything to me. I did it because I loved her. When you love someone, their burdens become yours too. I met Jasmine through a mutual friend, but the moment we started talking, something clicked. At the time, I didn't know much about her personal life. She kept things light, focused more on our conversations than herself. There were no red flags, just a steady, comfortable energy that made me feel at ease from the beginning. In the early months, I noticed how she always seemed busy, but she never made a big deal out of it. If she had to reschedule, she'd simply say something like, "Family stuff came up," and leave it at that. I respected that. She wasn't trying to impress me with sacrifices or overwhelm me with sob stories. She just handled her world quietly. It wasn't until maybe a year that I really started to see how much she carried. Jasmine wasn't just helping her family. She was holding them up. Whether it was making sure her younger brother got to school, handling her mom's medications, or managing bills when her dad couldn't, she did it all. And still, she showed up with a smile, made time to listen to me talk about my own work stress, and kept our relationship steady. I think what really hit me was how she never once complained. She didn't use her responsibilities as a shield or an excuse. She just took care of things because she believed it was the right thing to do. And to be honest, I've seen people walk away from their families over far less. But Jasmine stayed and gave. She carried more than her share, and she never expected applause for it. Maybe that's part of what pulled me in so deeply. I lost both my parents. A loss of that nature changes how you view family. So when I saw how much she valued hers, it hit something in me. I understood her. I admired her. And more than that, I wanted to stand beside her. Proposing to Jasmine after 2 years didn't feel like a big leap. I wasn't guessing or hoping she'd say yes. I knew. And when she said yes, with that same quiet grace she brought to everything, my heart was sure. We were in this together. It was just a few weeks before Easter when Jasmine asked if I'd be free to join her family for the holiday. I said yes without hesitation. I didn't need to check my calendar or weigh options. That's how I'd always approach things with her and her family. Whenever they had something going on, I showed up. I even put in for leave at work so I could have the entire weekend to spend with them that Easter. I remember waking up on the morning we were supposed to leave the house for her parents. I was actually excited. That probably sounds ridiculous now, but I was looking forward to it. It felt like one of those rare moments when I could just relax and be surrounded by a family that I had slowly come to care about like my own. Jasmine came into the room looking unsettled. I could tell something was weighing on her. She quietly said, "Hey, so my parents are saying it's going to be just family this year. Like only immediate family." I thought I misheard her. Just family. I asked, "You mean I'm not coming?" She bit her lip, nodded slightly. They just want it low-key this time, babe. I just sat there. I didn't argue or raise my voice. I told her, that's fine. You should still go. She paused, like she was waiting for me to react, to snap or guilt trip her. I didn't give her that. She leaned in, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, said she'd call me later, and walked out the door. She had no idea how loud that silence felt after she left. The moment the door shut behind me, I knew I couldn't sit at home nursing that hurt. So I booked a solo trip. No destination in mind, no plan, no one to meet. Just me. It was the first time I'd done that since Jasmine, and I got serious. Before her, I used to take solo weekends all the time, throw a bag in a car, pick a direction, and just go. But in the last few years, I'd let go of that part of myself, thinking I didn't need it anymore. Turns out I did. The trip wasn't fancy. Just a modest coastal town with a small inn, quiet roads, and a lot of fresh air. Had laughter and loose movement with people I'll probably never see again. And somewhere in that stillness, I let the hurt rise. I admitted to myself that what really cut deep wasn't the party or the lack of an invite. It was the realization that no matter how much I poured into her family, I was never truly seen as one of them. I didn't text. That weekend gave me more than peace. It gave me clarity. And sometimes, clarity doesn't arrive with answers. It comes when you stop begging for them and just sit with the questions. When Jasmine came back from her parents' house, you'd think nothing had happened. She asked how I was, told me about her aunt's potato salad, and laughed about her little cousin falling into the kiddie pool. Meanwhile, I sat there, listening to her talk about a celebration I wasn't allowed to attend. I made a decision after listening to her for a while. If they didn't see me as family, then I'd stop playing the role of one. So I started making quiet changes. I didn't announce anything. I just stopped involving myself. The next time her mother needed help, I didn't offer. Normally, I'd have sent something over. But I didn't. I stayed out of it. I had given too much of myself to people who couldn't be bothered to make space for me. Then one day, Jasmine asked me directly. Her dad's small business was short on some inventory, and she said, "Could you help? Just this once." I looked at her and said, "I can't help this time. I'm not family enough." The words came out calmly, measured, but the silence after was heavy. She blinked like she didn't understand at first. "Wait, are you serious?" I nodded. She waited, probably expecting me to smirk or soften. But I didn't. I meant every word. She stood there, trying to figure out who she was looking at. Then she turned and walked away, upset. But I didn't chase after her. I was asking myself one thing. Did she defend me? When they told her not to bring me to Easter, did she push back? Did she say, "He's my fiancé. If he's not welcome, then I'm not coming either"? Or did she just shrug and say, "Okay, I'll probably never know. And maybe I don't need to." Because, whatever her reasoning, the result was the same. I was outside the door. And now, I'm simply choosing to stay there. A few weeks later, Jasmine mentioned her cousin was trying to launch a small business and needed help. Normally, I'd have offered to look over the plan, maybe connect them with someone in my network. But this time, I just shook my head and said, "I think it's best I sit this one out." Her eyes narrowed like she was trying to figure out if I was joking. Then, her uncle needed someone to help sort out a legal mess. She brought it up casually over dinner, like she always did. And again, I declined. I told her the same thing every time. "I don't feel like it's my place anymore." That was the phrase that seemed to set her off. One evening, after the third or fourth time I said no to something involving her family, she lost it. She stood there, arms crossed, and said, "So this is how it's going to be now. You're just going to punish me and my family every time we ask for something." I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her. She went on, "You're being petty, Gavin. Vindictive even. This isn't you. This isn't the man I got engaged to. You're making a point that doesn't need to be made." I wanted to say something. I had so many thoughts, so many explanations. But none of them would have landed the way they needed to. So I stayed silent and let her speak. I let her feel everything she was feeling. And when she realized I wasn't going to argue and wasn't going to fight, she walked off again. That night, I got a few missed calls from an unknown number. Then I saw a text. "Hi Gavin, it's Jasmine's mom. Please call me when you can." The next evening, the same number rang again, and I picked up. Her voice was warm, soft. "Gavin, I heard you've been upset. About Easter. I'm really sorry. It was all a misunderstanding. We genuinely thought you had work, or that Jasmine told you we were keeping it small. But of course you were meant to be there. Your family." I didn't interrupt her. I just listened. She kept talking, saying all the right things, how they missed me, how I should have spoken up, how it wasn't intentional. But the thing is, it didn't feel like a misunderstanding. It felt like the truth finally slipped out when no one thought I'd notice. That underneath the gratitude and the friendly smiles, I was never quite one of them. I was the man who showed up with his wallet, his tools, his solutions, but not the man they pulled in when it came to real family moments. So I thanked her for the call. I told her I appreciated it. But inside, I knew better. They didn't forget me. They just didn't consider me. You know, I've had a lot of time to think. That solo trip gave me more than just distance. It gave me clarity. And when I really sat with it, everything made sense. This wasn't about a party. It was about what that day revealed. How I was never really in their family, only around it. They didn't see me as someone they wanted to celebrate with. They saw me as someone useful, someone convenient, someone who made things happen, made things easier. And I think what hurts the most is realizing that it wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't some accidental oversight. It was a decision, a quiet, deliberate one. I paid for the celebration, and they still decided I didn't need to be there. That's not a misunderstanding. That's not something you just forget. That's the truth peeking through when people think they don't have to hide it anymore. Now, after I remove myself, suddenly everyone's scrambling. Suddenly, they remember my name. My phone's been lighting up with long-winded explanations, trying to patch up what they won't even acknowledge was intentional. But it's too late. I see it for what it is now. The concern didn't show up until the benefits stopped flowing. That's not love. That's dependency disguised as family ties. When I got home, Jasmine was still upset. She didn't say much, but I could feel it, the tension, the distance. It's like we're living in two different understandings of the same relationship. And I don't know what that means for our future, but I do know one thing. I'm not going back to how things were. I'm not slipping back into that quiet, dependable role that keeps everyone else comfortable while I get overlooked. I've made peace with my decision, and maybe it'll come with consequences. Maybe it'll cost me more than I expected. But at least now, I'm standing in my truth. And if that truth means walking forward alone, so be it. Thank you for watching.